Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good whatever. Uh, you know, in the past, well, let me just preface this by saying you don't have to take my opinions as fact. You can do whatever you want. You can believe whatever you want. Belief is a very powerful thing. Or you can watch videos on what guitars are made out of and actually accept the truth because this is what a guitar is. See, a rock, you can't look at a stone, a rock, a boulder, and say, that is an apple pie. Or that is a plastic hula hoop. It's a stone. It is what it is. It does what it does. It has its use. But yet people will look at something and claim it's something else. Whether they're marketers, which are my favorite people on the planet, who lie to people constantly to get their greedy little hands into people's wallets and artificially inflate prices in order to, well, basically pay their bills. I can understand making money. Yeah, that's great. But if your money, if you're making money based on lies, then it says something about you. It really, really does. When it comes down to it, this whole situation with the Tonewood is pushed forth by marketers, people selling guitars, people who have a financial interest in it, gear snobs, who you can see pictured here on the screen, basically snobbery, and also people with fragile egos, which are the gear snobs as well. These are the people who push these ideas that Tonewood and electric guitar makes such a huge difference that it can be heard easily. No, there is no such thing as Tonewood and an electric guitar. I don't care what little scientific tests you say you've got to prove it, all this other stuff. You gotta look at who is making these tests. What do they have to gain from it? You've got people like Rob Chapman, who made his little scientific, I prove Tonewood exists. Why? Because he sells guitars based on that. That is where he makes his money. Okay? A lot of these people that say Tonewood exists, there's money in it. Because they can artificially inflate the prices of these guitars. There's a great video by Will ZZ Guitar. He's now known as the Guitar Doctor. And he did an awesome video called What the Guitar Companies Don't Want You to Know. And it exposes all this nonsense about wood. It exposes all of these lies that are pushed by the guitar manufacturing industry and all these little stores that are their middlemen or whatever, selling the guitar to the customer. And the whole thing is they push all these lies about Tonewood and all this other garbage in order to make money. You see that big pile of money that's on the screen? That's what they're doing it for. It's not true in any way, shape, or form. It's already been proven. A guitar does not register unless your pickups are non-potted. And I don't know anybody these days who's playing on pickups that aren't wax potted. The pickups do not pick up anything having to do with any of the wood. Pickups that are microphonic are pickups that have bad wax potting or very little wax potting, or the wax potting wasn't done right, or no wax potting at all. Those are microphonic pickups. They may pick up whatever the wood is resonating. But when it comes down to it, when you plug the guitar in on any guitar made these days with a fully and normally wax potted pickup, even the cheap ones, all of the discussions of wood, anything having to do with wood, ends right there. That's it. It ends right there as soon as you plug that guitar in. There's another guy, Dave's Guitar Channel, and he made a rant and rave video about the Tonewood debate, and he goes into it in detail. Also, there's Scott Grove, who has debunked it. There are so many people. Jim Lill just made a video. And that's bringing up all these Tonewoods, bringing the Tonewood Cultists back out of the woodwork, literally, to sit there and try to debunk every little aspect and deny. But it doesn't change reality. You can sit there and point at a stone and say, this is a plastic hula hoop. But it's not going to make it a plastic hula hoop. It is a stone. That is all there is to it. You cannot change the laws of physics because you wish it. Or because you believe it's opposite. You cannot change these things. These things are real. But yet, now all these guys they're back out of the woodwork again. It never ends. You know, they're always... I had a guy arguing with me who all works for Tonewood. The guys who sell the Harley Benton guitars. And he's sitting there trying to debunk... He said he debunked Jim Leal's excellent video proving that Tonewood basically is a bunch of nonsense. And the thing with him is he works for Tonewood, so there's a financial thing behind it. But yet all these empty-headed nodders and bobbleheads that are in his comment section are like, oh yeah, man, you definitely got it. Yeah, you're right. Tonewood exists. Because they buy into this crap. And they worship YouTubers, and they worship these people who do not... No one deserves to be worshipped. But yet, they do that, so everything that person says is basically law. The same thing with these performers. You know, like I mentioned before. You've got, you know, Phil Collin from Def Leppard, and you've got Steve Vai. Those are the two primary ones I can mention right now that, you know, claim that Tonewood exists. Why? Because the company that's handling their signature guitars has said so. It's in their contract. You have to say that this stuff exists. You have to toe the company line, or else you won't have the contract anymore. Many guitar players have switched from company to company because they didn't want to toe the company line. They didn't want to lie to their customers or their fans or whatever. Lots of people don't want to lie to their fans. Dave Grohl accepted, of course. I have a whole bunch of problems with Dave Grohl these days, but hey, you know, when you push when you push government propaganda as truth, then you're a piece of shit in my eyes. So, hey, he wants to do that. That's his choice. Not very punk to support government propaganda and the establishment. But hey, that's my problem with Dave Grohl. But that just shows that a lot of these musicians are easily bought. They're easily bought. They're used to living a certain lifestyle, and once they see that lifestyle starting to disappear slightly, they will do whatever they can to make more money again. And they're doing it, you know, now with all this Tonewood shit. And now all these other people are coming out, and they're harassing people. They're showing up on people's videos. They're showing up on people's channels. They don't understand how a guitar works, or they just don't care. You know, they don't know what, you know, how a pickup works. They don't know what a constant is. They don't know what a lot of things are. But yet, they're going to sit there and attack you over stuff that they don't know. It's just, it's pure, absolute, utter narcissism. And it's annoying. And it's just something that we're never going to see the end of with guitars. The Tonewood shit's going to be around forever. Why? Because it's a cult. It is a cult. It is a bunch of people believing something that isn't true, but they're believing it because various cults of personality are saying it's true. And that is the big problem. But what are you going to do? You know, it's going to be around. Just don't believe it. Learn how an electric guitar works. It doesn't, you know, price doesn't equal quality. Just because you spend more on an electric guitar, and I don't care if you do. Hey, you want to go empty your wallet to Gibson, you go right ahead. Or Fender, or Ibanez, or whoever, you know, that sells the expensive, overpriced guitars at Kiesel and all these other boutique guitar makers. Hey, you want to go empty your wallets to these people, go right ahead. You want to go buy a PRS private stock, you go right ahead. That's your money. You do whatever you want. I mean, hell, people buy hookers and things with their money. So, it is what it is. But don't sit there and come back to me and go, hey, this guitar I just spent $5,000 on is much better than your $500 guitar or your $200 guitar. See, that's garbage. You should just throw that in the fireplace because that's all it's good for. Yeah, bullshit. I've had rock stars tell me that my tone is excellent. And that was done on budget guitars. I mean, I'm not a wealthy person at all. Even though I am a Gibson owner. I do have a 1967 Gibson. It still, at the same time, I've always played budget guitars because I like them better. I could have sat there and I've got over 40 guitars. I could have had a lot less guitars than this. And I could have focused exclusively on the expensive guitars and only the expensive guitars. But I chose not to. I chose not to for 44 years of my playing. Why? Because it's easier to work with the budget guitars. They sound just as good as the expensive guitars. They play just as good as the expensive guitars when they're set up right. And they're not a big financial loss in case somebody steals stuff, which happens all the time at gigs. Stuff will get stolen constantly, especially in this day and age. So you're not going to be losing a lot. And you can replace it. It's cost effective. And if the guitar sounds exactly like the custom shop Gibson, and you only paid $200 for it, who gives a shit what name is on the headstock other than these cork-sniffing assholes? They're the only ones who care. They're the only ones who give a shit what the guitar name is that's on the headstock. Nobody else in the audience gives a shit what name is on your headstock or on your amps or anything. They're only concerned as if you can entertain them. That's the only reason. That's the only reason they're there, is to be entertained. Can you entertain them? Can you play the guitar? Look at Eddie Van Halen. He built his guitar out of a factory second body that was a rejected body headed straight for the incinerator. And he pulled it out of the bin and he said, I want this one. And the guy's like, well, it's an imperfect body. He goes, I don't care. And he says, what's so imperfect about it? He says, well, some of them have knots and stuff. He's like, who gives a shit if it's got a knot in it? That doesn't affect how it plays. See, even Eddie Van Halen knew that Tonewood was bullshit way back then. And so he built his Frankenstrat. Bought a $80 neck off of a classified ad. And just put everything together. He had an old Gibson pickup that he had when he was working at a music store. It was an old pickup from a 335 that was not wax potted. So he dipped it into paraffin and wax potted it himself. Took a big risk doing that, but he did it. And that became his pickup for the Frankenstrat. And he changed guitar forever with his ability and that cheap ass guitar. But yet, people these days, somebody came along with a guitar looking like that, they'd be like, what a piece of crap. That thing, you should be throwing that into the freaking, into the campfire. It's a campfire guitar. You throw it in the campfire when you're done. Or, put it in the incinerator. Throw it in the garbage because it's going to fall apart in a year. Yeah, bullshit. These people don't know what they're talking about. They're talking out their ass. And they're talking basically through their own egos. That's all that you're hearing, is you're hearing their ego talk. So, when these Tonewood cultists come around and they tell you that everything is the way they say it is, they're full of shit. Because Tonewood doesn't matter with an electric guitar. Once you plug the guitar in, the pickup doesn't pick up the tone of the wood. It doesn't pick up anything like that. Unplugged, yeah, your body will resonate, whatever. Unplugged. But once you plug it in, the pickup is picking up the magnetic disturbance above it from the vibrating string. That's it. Has nothing to do with wood. Sustain has nothing to do with wood. None of those things have anything to do with the wood of the guitar. The wood of the guitar is just for aesthetics and stability. That's it. That's all the wood is for. I mean, if you build a guitar out of pine, it's not going to be the greatest, soft pine. It's not going to be the most stable thing in the world, and it's most likely going to warp because pine tends to do that. But, I mean, honestly, these people pushing this crap, don't believe it. And don't be shamed by these idiots. I mean, I got told today by this high and mighty salesman, told me that, Well, the people that are worried about Tonewood and the people that are constantly trying to debunk it are the people that would never buy the guitars anyway. They would never spend that much money on the guitar anyway. Bullshit! They just don't like artificially inflated prices, and they don't like lies. It's just, so, you know, they'll do anything, these Tonewood cultists. They'll financially shame you. They'll do whatever they can. Don't believe them. It's bullshit. An excellent guitar player can make a budget guitar sing. And you could start on a budget guitar and do very, very well. Hell, you could keep playing a budget guitar all the way through your career. Look at Jack Pearson playing Squires right off the rack. He found these Squires in pawn shops and stuff. And loves them. And impressed the Allman Brothers enough that they begged him to join the group. The Allman Brothers, for God's sakes. So don't listen to these people. You're starting out guitar, play whatever guitar that you want to play. Whatever you can afford, whatever you want to buy. And don't let these idiots tell you, oh, it's a piece of junk. Because if it functions, and it's set up well, and it's solid as far as, you know, it's solid in the way that it's reliable, then it's not a piece of junk. I don't give a shit what anybody says in that regard. And that's all I gotta say. Don't believe these Tonewood idiots. Because they're talking out their asses, or they're trying to make a fast buck off of gullible people. Have a nice day.